Alright, guys, for fun this time, we're gonna do just an idle reaction to fucking internet today. I'm not even gonna guarantee we're gonna upload this. It's just like the last, or we might do a newsreel video, and we just react to these a bit soft and hard, and we'll just move on. It could be a bunch of short statements if I drop a banger at some point. Could be just like a long reaction. We'll find out. This is just gonna be my news reaction before the hospital. Because Counter Psyche Val says, I don't know, do that. That's funny. And that's it. We also leave this time on that one, to where you get to know that the one view we had is chatting with Viper Ning about last serious chapter before the mental hospital, which again, if we did not know, was Bunker Politics and Love Lives Gone Wrong. We have written that chapter. It was only 1,300 words. Don't be too impressed, but I left on a good note for you guys to be like, somewhat sad but overstimulated Christian girls about like what's the next chapter gonna be. It is on a really good note. Read that note, read that chapter, and figure out what you're gonna be simulating about in your heads until I come back and write the real chapter or chapters. If you remember, I'm stuck in a mental hospital, and I take advantage of to write real stories instead of fan fiction. There's at least gonna be a raw writing update once I get out the mental hospital if I'm even decent at my job. Which immediately, based on my last experience, I wasn't actually. We were actually pretty lame. We only did like 3,000 words total, and I chopped that down a bit because I wanted to save time on copying and pasting even because I was lazy, and also because I just knew I could do things better, and so I did, like every time, except for Sasuke. Oh man, but that was when we got really tired on it mid. Like we actually had like 300 more words I could have done, but I just didn't do it because I didn't want to explain the house and stuff. It was like, I could have at least established a rich kid house, honestly, with like what's pre-written. We were lazy on that though, Sasuke. Sorry. It's like, anyway, let's watch latest Internet Today video. Right-wing nut jobs don't scare Ilhan Omar.
Is more than willing to summarily execute anyone who protests them, and then slander their victims as terrorists before their bodies have even gone cold. And it doesn't matter if you're a white U.S. citizen with a squeaky clean background. For people who aren't white and aren't citizens, it's got to be even scarier, particularly if you're Somali American. Minority group that this administration and the media that does its bidding have been defaming with vile gutter racism for a while now.
Now, House Representative Ilhan Omar, who represents Minneapolis and was born in Somalia, has been the focus of much of this hatred. And not only is she Somali, let's also not forget that last June, a right-wing nutjob assassinated a Democratic state representative and her husband, injured another state representative and his wife, and had plans to shoot a lot of elected Minnesota Democrats before he was apprehended. He also killed a dog. So if you're Ilhan Omar, you might not show it, but it is a pretty damn scary position to be in right now.
So for at least a brief moment on Tuesday night, it looked like all of this was gonna culminate in something deadly serious for Ilhan Omar.
ICE could not be reformed. It could not be rehabilitated. We must abolish ICE. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem must resign or face impeachment. I don't know. I need a napkin to know nothing.
Okay, so that was Ilhan Omar at a town hall event in Minneapolis, and right after she calls for ICE to be abolished and for Kristi Noem to resign, a random dude runs at her with a syringe full of some brownish mystery liquid and sprays it on her before quickly being tackled by security. We also see Ilhan, she does not back down. She walks right towards it.
Squares up.
Yeah, she almost throws hands. She raises her fist, and within a few seconds, she's ready to get back to business, saying, "We will continue. These fucking assholes are not going to get away with it." And then after the town hall, she was calm as a cucumber.
Representative Omar, are you okay?
You know, I'm gonna figure if I am, but I feel okay. I feel that it is important for people, whether they're in elected office or not, to allow these people to intimidate us. To me, that's not fight for our constituents and for the country we love. with intimidation or whatever these people think that they can throw at me because I'm built that way.
Good for her.
She's
not
not fucking cool.
Yeah, exactly. Not only does she say it like it is, she is. These town halls happen every single month. She's never like shied away from it. You'll see Republican representatives just never show up, and if they do, they get yelled at. And she shows up all the time. She's willing to go out there and say abolish ICE at the bare minimum. It's just very impressive.
They hate immigrants for a number of reasons that are all essentially telling on themselves, because immigrants possess certain virtues that your average American lacks. But
Yes.
courage and like courage under fire in particular are qualities that, growing up in a place like Somalia would bestow upon you that you would not typically get as a pampered, spoiled fucking American.
Yeah.
And they hate her for it.
And anyways, it's no surprise whatsoever that right-wingers immediately sprung into action, accusing Omar of staging a false flag attack on herself. Starting with the president himself. In a phone interview Tuesday evening with ABC News' senior political correspondent Rachel Scott, Trump said he hadn't seen video of the incident, and without providing evidence, accused Omar of staging the attack. Think about her. I think she's a fraud, Trump said. She probably had herself sprayed, knowing her.
It's a mechanic that's possible. We'll give them that. Especially if you just think of everyone as rumor god levels of intelligence.
Of the top comments
Kim Jong-un,
are
if everyone's smart like Kim
basically
Jong-un
calling
says,
it
like,
a sign
fucking,
of the
it's
false
always possible.
Yeah, despite this guy having, like, a known history on it.
Yeah.
Within hours, this was definitively shown to be bullshit, obviously. From the New York Times, the man who squirted liquid from a syringe onto Representative Ilhan Omar in Minneapolis on Tuesday night had for years posted online about his anger at Democrats and had recently told a neighbor that he might be arrested at an event featuring the Congresswoman. On Facebook, Mr. Kazmierzik, who went by Andy, frequently wrote and shared posts from others about conservative issues, including some that criticized Democratic lawmakers. Ms. Omar was the subject of one post he shared in 2021, a political cartoon that criticized her for hiring security as she made a push to restructure or decrease funding for the Minneapolis Police Department after a police officer killed George Floyd.
On Facebook, Mr. Kazmierzik showed his support for President Trump. Turning Point USA, the group founded by Charlie Kirk, and other conservative figures, as well as Israel and Ukraine. In 2022, he shared a news article about a candidate challenging Representative Cori Bush of Missouri, a progressive lawmaker who, along with Ms. Omar, is part of a group called the Squad. Ms. Omar, a Democrat, was sworn into Congress in 2019 and represents all of Minneapolis and some of its suburbs. Mr. Kazmierzik also showed support for Kyle Rittenhouse, who was acquitted after shooting 3 people who chased him during a protest over a police shooting in Wisconsin in 2020. In other posts, Mr. Kazmierzik called former President Joseph R. Biden Jr. spineless in his dealings with Russia and Ukraine, defended police officers accused of crimes, and was critical of policies requiring COVID vaccinations. His non-political posts were largely about his dog, motorcycles, or his children. And in one case, a trip to Chicago.
Terrifying.
How did he survive that trip?
A terrifying
Into the belly of the beast.
trip to Chicago. No, this guy, all of the characteristics that were just listed there could be any MAGA freak that is just to a T.
Yeah, there are millions of this particular
Like brainwashed
type
in
guy.
the exact same way. So yeah, either this was a psyop literally years in the making, or the guy who did it is the exact kind of guy you would expect to do this sort of thing.
I don't know who's to say which is true, which isn't.
And he looks like an ogre too.
He looked drunk as fuck.
Yeah, just nasty.
Yeah.
You can tell he stank too.
Yeah.
Even his own brother double confirmed that this is entirely in line with who this guy is. The man who was attacking Representative Ilhan Omar during a Tuesday evening town hall meeting in Minnesota is a, quote, piece of shit with lifelong anger issues who has been fixated on the Somali-born lawmaker and the Somali diaspora in general for years. His younger brother told The Independent, "I'm not surprised this happened." Anthony James Kazmierzak's brother said Wednesday morning in a phone interview from his home in North Carolina. Not at all. Unfortunately, he and my mother are both right-wing extremists. He has had a hatred of the Somali community for probably 20 years, Kazmierzak's brother continued. There's a reason I don't talk to him. He's got a lot of anger. I have no idea where it comes from. He's always been that way. In and out of treatment since he was a kid. Yeah, so clearly a guy who's not mentally well and who has been completely indoctrinated by the MAGA political movement.
I mean, it is kind of interesting, not surprising at all, but you get people like Renee Good or Alex Freddie, and they are combing over their entire lives with a fine-tooth comb. And it's like, no, these are actually really fucking normal people, not even like particularly politically engaged up until the ICE stuff happening in Missouri. And then every time something like this happens on the other side, it's just like, okay, here's 20 fucking years of social media.
Nah, I don't know. I don't know. Not convincing.
Yeah.
Definitely a psyop.
So yeah, sorry, not a psyop, not a false flag, just an average Trump supporter acting on his beliefs. This is entirely in line with the stuff that Trump has been saying about both Ilhan Omar and the Minneapolis Somali community. And here's the Washington Post with just a sample of that. Trump has, in recent months, used racist and dehumanizing rhetoric to attack Somali immigrants, often singling out Omar, a Somali American and immigrant. Hours before Omar was attacked on Tuesday, Trump again publicly assailed Omar at an event in Iowa. She comes from a country that's a disaster. Probably it's considered, I think, the worst. It's not even a country, okay? It barely has a government, he said, referring to Somalia.
Trump ended a cabinet meeting last month with a rant against Somali migrants, calling them, quote, garbage, and saying he did not want them in the United States. Weeks before, he had threatened to end temporary protected status for Somali immigrants in Minnesota, and without evidence, accused Somali gangs of terrorizing people there. Last week, Trump insulted Somali migrants in his remarks at the annual meeting of the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. Can you believe that? Somalia. They turned out to be higher IQ than we thought, Trump told the audience of political and corporate leaders from around the globe. I always say these are low IQ people. How do they go into Minnesota and steal all that money?
It's just so fucking weird to be bringing this up at Davos places. Like, I know he's on a loop. He's looping, like the old man that he is. But, like, can you imagine being, like, a fucking Swiss businessman and having to sit listening to the President of the United States rant about some, like, regional fucking racism that he has?
Yeah. Yes, Mr. President, all of the Haitians are eating all of your cats and dogs, Mr. President. Sure. Can we go back to not tariffing the entire continent of Europe?
We're here to talk about economics, actually. Can we do that?
You can go to your hotel room later and get on your computer and type it out on Truth. None of us care.
But yeah, I mean, there's a straight line between Trump saying it's gonna end. I mean, it's stochastic terrorism, and we're getting it on a fucking near daily basis. Yeah, no surprise at all. This happened. Thankfully, no one but the attacker got hurt. It's weirdly still no word on what was in that vial. My theory is it was just his own piss. But I mean,
luckily it wasn't harmful.
Yeah, it wasn't like immediately acid or poison or God knows any other like harmful liquid. But so it's good that it turned out the way it did. Unfortunately, though, and I'm not clear why, but I think it's because anytime anything happens to like a member of Congress, this is what happens. But Minneapolis has handed over the case to the feds.
Oh, good.
So yeah, there's a non-zero chance that this guy gets just a slap on the wrist, or maybe even gets pardoned.
No, he's showing up at the RNC.
Yeah, he will be a featured speaker there.
Yeah.
But speaking of Minneapolis, ICE's murder of Alex Preddy on Saturday was so indefensible that it seems to have crossed a red line for a lot of people, even folks who otherwise were supportive of ICE's mission. The Trump administration knows how bad this all looked, and within a couple of days they had thrown Greg Bovino under the bus, despite him carrying out their orders exactly as intended. But the heat is still on, especially with ICE funding soon to be voted on in the Senate, and the remaining key players are desperately trying to shift the blame onto each other. It's a bus-tossing competition.
Oh yeah, this is, like we were talking about in the previous episode, you're seeing nothing is over. In fact, a lot of the operations that have happened on Tuesday and Wednesday were very severe. But as far as the administration goes, you are seeing cracks. Kristi Noem's being like, they're all starting to do the I'm just following orders thing.
Yeah.
And that is hopefully just the beginning.
So here's Axios on Tuesday.
Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem is under fire for issuing misleading and incendiary information that claimed immigration agents killed an armed Minnesota protester Saturday because he wanted to massacre them. That language has now become a source of controversy in the Trump administration. White House officials are blaming Customs and Border Patrol for furnishing inaccurate information, while others are targeting Stephen Miller, White House Deputy Chief of Staff and top Trump advisor, 6 sources with knowledge of the situation told Axios. Miller's power extends to de facto oversight of Noem, though she's a cabinet secretary who technically outranks him. Everything I've done at the direction of the president and Stephen, Noem told a person who relayed her remarks to Axios. Now I agree. Stephen Miller should be gone. But also, Ms. Gnome,
So you're taking orders from that guy?
yeah,
Interesting.
weird. Is he the one sitting in the cup chair when you and Corey Lewandowski are messing around, or what's going on? I don't know. I'm just saying.
Well, for him, it's not.
Yeah.
It's sure. But yeah, the biggest issue in turn, it seems to be the way that members of the Trump administration immediately labeled Alex Preddy a domestic terrorist trying to massacre federal agents, which was outrageously false and defamatory, even by this administration's standard. No one believed that shit. And according to Axios, they're essentially blaming this on a game of telephone, where Stephen Miller first made those claims, and then everyone else, including Kristi Noem, just kind of amplified them without double checking.
Yeah, well, the problem
Happens
is
all the time.
the problem is Stephen Miller is literally a fucking Nazi. So whatever he says is the worst possible version of it, and then they all go, "Oh, okay, well,
Sure.
he said it, so."
So Miller, for his part, blames Greg Bovino for the disinformation, hence why Bovino was removed from his post, and he's also blaming the shooting itself on CBP in general for not following protocol,
Who's the nicest
whatever the
man
fuck
right
that
now?
means.
Okay, stand.
But this all goes to demonstrate once again that Stephen Miller, despite his job title, is the person running this administration's immigration policy and giving orders to people that he shouldn't have any real authority. He's the man in charge. And Kristi Noem is gazing into the future and thinking, might be good to get that back out there for my own benefit, in case this ever gets legal.
Kristi Noem needs to go to prison. Stephen Miller needs to go to art.
They all need to go to the danger.
Yeah.
The pit.
Well, speaking of that ICE funding bill, it's been a pleasant surprise to see so many elected Democrats united on their willingness to shut down the government to prevent ICE from receiving a huge new batch of funding. But what's less surprising is that in just a few days, Chuck Schumer managed to negotiate himself down to some much smaller demands.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see what happens by the time
Chuck did that.
by the time Tim Kaine gets to this in a couple of weeks, if it actually happens, we're gonna get less than nothing.
They don't know how to fucking negotiate. It drives me crazy.
Because
on
they have
this
to-
and all other topics.
With the Democrats, they have to give up everything they're asking for just to get Republicans to sit at the table.
They actually have quite a bit of leverage and
No,
stuff.
they always have leverage. They had the health care last time, and that's fucked. And and Tim Kaine fucked that one up too. But yeah, they never use the leverage that they have. From The Guardian, these include a prohibition on patrols by Immigration and Customs Enforcement and a mandate that they coordinate with local and state police. The imposition of a uniform code of conduct and requirement of independent investigations into violations, and a ban on mask wearing by federal agents, along with a rule that they wear body cameras and carry identification.
So yeah, it didn't take long for the demands to just revert back to essentially, we'll give ICE all the money they want as long as they keep on doing the exact same thing they're doing, but with body cams this time. I mean, it's not just that. These are sensible things that would have been great to propose, I don't know, a year ago. These are not what you do in response to ICE murdering 2 people on the street within the span of 2 weeks.
It needs to be absolutely abolished.
Yeah. And for a second there, it seemed like a kind of crazy amount of elected Democrats were on that page. I mean, obviously, Ilhan Omar is still on that page.
Yeah, that's
God bless her. But, so many of these other people are just such little fucking worms. They drive me mad. The good news, though, is that Republicans in the Senate are so deranged that even these extremely minor amendments are a bridge too far for a lot of them. So there may still end up being a shutdown, regardless of Cuck Schumer's cowardice.
Well, also, with them proposing this, not gonna happen. In reality, not gonna happen. They're gonna all right, we did it. We got the rules in place. No one's ever gonna break the rules.
Yeah.
Except they will. There's supposed to be a no mask mandate for federal officers here in California, and guess what? They don't fucking care.
Yeah.
They don't care.
It's not
They
just
killed 2
shooting.
people. What are they? They don't fucking care.
Yeah.
You dumbass.
But yeah, meanwhile, I mean, there does still seem to be at least a few Democratic senators who are demanding more than what Chuck's demanding. For example, Ruben Gallego of Arizona said Tuesday that he won't vote yes on the bill unless Trump fires Steve Miller. It's still nowhere near what should happen, which is ICE just losing all its funding and ceasing to exist. But it's at least better than what Chuck is asking.
Well, also, the ICE budget is so astronomical that
Well, because they need to hire 50,000 new agents.
Yeah.
As if they don't have enough already. They're outnumbering local PD like 6 to 1 in Minneapolis right now.
Yeah.
But if we want to do that in every major city in the country, we gotta hire a lot more guys.
I mean, what they're doing is bankrolling a civil war.
Yeah.
Because you're paying, you're funding very lucratively everyone that agrees with you, and handing them a weapon and giving them, not a real legal backing, but a perceived legal backing to just go out there and kill people.
Yeah. I saw today like some historians that specifically focus on civil wars. They're like, yeah, I mean, this already meets the criteria for a civil
Yeah,
war.
but and the funding is just honestly it's crazy. He's built. They're built. ICE is its own private military at this point. I guarantee you.
They're sending them to the fucking Italy Winter Olympics.
I know, that's crazy.
As like private security for.
I mean, just shot in the dark, I would have to assume that ICE is a bigger, more well-funded military than, I don't know, half the Earth?
Oh yeah.
Do you think that would be safe to say?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it would be even more shocking than that. I'm just taking a wild guess.
But yeah, I mean, even among Republicans, senators like Tom Tillis and Lisa Murkowski are demanding that Kristi Noem resign or be fired. But they're not backing that up with threats to pull ICE funding or withhold their.
They just think it would be nice.
Yeah, so it's toothless. But it is interesting that, I mean, I can't think of another time Republicans were like, yeah, we need to fire a fucking cabinet.
Well, because they know that it looks bad.
Yeah, I mean, it's self-preservation.
Anyways, this is always the most topical part of the show. We do a transition from telling you about countries slapping descendant of fascism, telling you about products and services right before getting back to talking about all that kind of stuff again. Yeah, it's not very fun, but all this news is making a reach for the bottle. We'll be very interested to know that this episode is sponsored by Z-Biotics. Some of us have sworn it off. Some of us might need it now more than ever. But if you're gonna drink alcohol, your first drink of the night should be Z-Biotics pre-alcohol probiotic. Engineered by a team of PhD microbiologists, it is a probiotic drink that breaks down the byproduct of alcohol that's responsible for rough days after drinking.
Z-Biotics pre-alcohol probiotic drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. Invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's a buildup of this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for rough days after drinking. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to make pre-alcohol your first drink of the night. Drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best tomorrow. This kind of thing would have come in so usefully for most of my life.
But now science has caught up.
Now what I needed the least is it's here for me.
Yeah, well, the older you get, the more severe the day after can be. And this is at least you're getting out ahead of it.
Yep. So if you're ready to try it, go to zbiotics.com/newsday. You'll get 15% off your first order when you use Newsday at checkout. Plus, it's backed by a 100% money-back guarantee, so there's no risk. Subscriptions are also available for maximum consistency.
And this episode is also sponsored by Shopper. Picture this. It's late at night and you're scrolling through your feeds when all of a sudden you see it. One product that you've been looking for. You click on the link, add the cart, maybe you can shop around a little bit before finally hitting checkout. As you're filling in your address, you realize you don't have your card anywhere near you. That's when you see it. The purple pay button that is all of your information saved, making checking out simple and simple out on your screen. Just share. And our favorite part is all your delivery tracking is in one convenient place. No need to go digging around in your emails for tracking purposes.
The Shopify is great for shoppers, but it's also great for sellers. They're the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce. From big name brands all the way down to tiny little YouTube merch stores. That's what they are. They help you get started with your own design studio. With hundreds of ready-to-use templates, Shopify helps you build a beautiful online store that matches your brand style. Accelerate your efficiency, whether you're uploading new products or trying to improve existing ones. Shopify is packed with helpful tools that write product descriptions, page headlines, and even enhance your product photography.
Tackle all those important tasks in one place, from inventory to payments to analytics and more. No need to save multiple
I'm just
websites or
overthinking
your
Groomer God jokes in my head about Anime Land if it's like
Everything is
cute
all
with
in
it.
one place, making
I
your
might as well
life easier
rant
and
about it
business
since I'm
operations
barely
smooth.
paying attention.
So
Actually, you know what?
must start, go abandoned and see more sales
That deserves its own rant.
Ching.
with Shopify and their Shop Pay button. Sign up for your $1 trial today at shopify.com.
We're gonna go all over all the cute mechanics of dealing with Groomer God. And just on our own rant, we're listening to music now on a separate video. that is like funny, and we get to Groomer God with just the aspect of illusions and mimics, let alone like what other bullshit you do. If you give them the concept I have for it, Illuminati Americana, it's full credit, which we've still uploaded this video for like an idle upload. It'd be even though it's like lame. It's just a news reaction we do a lot. Anyway, peace and love, YouTube, Twitch, and we're gonna do Broomstick Swagger this time.
Lady Valentine.